Well, let's talk about faith. Your Sunday job, which is preaching.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. And a lot of people don't know, but right before this episode, we had a little bit of a prayer.
Yeah.
It was pretty epic, actually. I was really feeling that. You also have a really fascinating pendant on your chest as well. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about both and your faith.
Yeah, this is this pendant I got when I was 40 because I had actually met a witch when I was in my early 20s, and she had put a curse on me, and she had said that I was going to die before I was 40. And she saw me in an airplane crashing over Buffalo, New York, or upstate. And you know, when people say things like this, you kind of, sure, you want to reject it or brush it off, but in your subconscious, it's a curse. It haunts you, it kind of stays there. And so through my 20s and 30s, I just had this weird haunting thought that would always kind of come back when I was at a weak point or tired or vulnerable, that, hey, maybe I won't make it past 40, you know, and maybe the devil will get me or try to take me out. And because I had experienced so many demonic or spiritual, supernatural occurrences, it wasn't like, oh, that won't ever happen or can't happen. Like I knew and know the devil doesn't like me. And
why?
You know, it's interesting. I believe that when you make a commitment to do God's work and to submit your will, not to your own, but for me as a Christ follower, to Christ, then you immediately become a target for the enemy or the evil forces or darkness to say, hey, this person is not just living any life or their own life. They are actually on the side of light, on the side of God's kingdom, on the side of God's purpose and plan. And if, like a founder, you are committed, you are resilient, and you're determined to do God's work and to do God's will, then you automatically become an opponent or opposition to the enemy. And so at a very young age, you know, I was on my way to jail when I was 17 for grand theft. And God supernaturally, miraculously acquitted me from all the charges, even though I pleaded guilty. The judge said, you're not guilty, and you can walk out this courtroom like nothing ever happened. It was impossible. And I call justice is getting what you deserve, mercy is getting what you don't deserve, but grace is getting what you definitely don't deserve. It's a miracle. It's only given by God. And when I walked out that courtroom in San Jose Police Department, I was 17, and you know, the birds were chirping, the skies were blue, sun was shining. I was like, God, you're the nicest dude I've ever met in my life. And I'm gonna get out of this driver's seat of my life and get into the passenger seat. I said, Jesus Christ, you get into the driver's seat and you take my life wherever you want to go. And I think I was just in Lisbon recently, and the Pope was there for World Youth Day. And one of the priests shared a quote for, I believe, Pope John Paul II, and said, a life with Christ is the greatest adventure. And so for me, I remember at a garage sale when I first became a Christ follower, there was this little plaque, and it said, to see God in everything makes life the greatest adventure. And I had that little plaque in my room as a teenager. And I used to grow up watching kung fu dramas, like these epic, like they're flying in the air shooting lasers, like, you know, 7 Iron Monkeys. And it was always like this similar story of this nobody that came from nothing guy that somehow falls down a hill off a mountain cliff into a cave, finds this kung fu manual book that happens to be there, learns it, and masters it in this cave for like years, and then comes out of the cave and becomes this kung fu superhero. And so I always just had this fantasy in my head when I was a kid, like, I want to be a kung fu superhero. Like I told my mom when I was, I think, 10 or 11, like, I want to shave my head bald and go to the Shaolin temple and become a Shaolin monk. And my mom's like, no, you don't. You will not. You will go into Harvard. Right? And, but I remember when I became a Christ follower and I had my encounter as a born again Christian, as a born again believer, I remember telling God one day, I was like, God, I do not want my life to be boring. Make my life, make this Christian adventure like a kung fu story.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.